I'm doing this because I feel like I kind of owe it to people that are interested. I know I don't upload things on this channel very often because I do a lot of other things. If you haven't gone over to the Para9, it's my last name, P-E-R-A, and then the number 9, like spelled out N-I-N-E, then do that and you can learn more about the other stuff that I do. Read stories, talk about stories, critique stories. But on this account, the thing that I've been doing most recently is talking about my and my wife's journey along the Catholicism, the Catholic path. And, well, where we're at right now is coming to a couple of realizations. And the realization is kind of as follows. And let me just spell it out in a completely different way. Let's say that you get to a point in your life where you realize that it would be good for you to move your body. You've lived a very sedentary life, and you, through things that you've researched, through things that you've seen in other people, you realize that doing something, whether it's running or rowing or cycling or lifting weights or rock climbing or volleyball, whatever, you need to do something with your body to get into a better place physically. Then the question is, well, what do you do? And I think that answer matters as much as you want it to. Does it matter if you go hiking as opposed to walk along beaches? I don't know that it does. Does it matter if you go to a gym that doesn't have a roof but tarps instead because it's an old school kind of gym and you're in contact with nature, or you're training at like Venice Beach, at Muscle Beach? Does it matter if you train there on that equipment or go to LA Fitness? Or does it matter if you go to LA Fitness versus Powerhouse Gym or Planet Fitness? Does it really matter if the color scheme is purple and yellow or black and yellow? Like, does that, you see what I'm saying? With Christianity, every denomination that I know of, all of the Protestants, all of them, all of Eastern Orthodoxy, all of Catholicism, believe the core things: the Trinitarian nature of God, the God-manhood aspect of Jesus, the death and resurrection of Jesus, salvation, how that's achieved. It's largely the same across the board. Where you get into the differences is kind of, it's kind of as much as you want it to be. It's as important as you care for it to be important. But I don't know that it ultimately matters. There was a chat that Matt Fradd of the Pints and Aquinas, or Pints with Aquinas podcast, had with a fellow named Eric Yorba. And Yerba was saying he doesn't see how God, who he believes in, would have come down and let himself be crucified on the cross, die in one of the most, if not the most, agonizing, horrible, terrible ways imaginable at the time, only to then turn around and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're not jumping through this hoop, through, and then that thing, and then you don't know this clause, and then that comment, what that means. What? He doesn't think that that's how God would be. And I agree. It sounds like, when I listen to these various apologetics, whether it's a Protestant or a Catholic or Eastern Orthodox, oftentimes it gets so in the weeds, it starts to feel like I'm listening to something on C-SPAN about the nuances of some law. It's like, well, if the comma was after this word, that has an entirely different meaning. But if it's before this word, it means this. It's like, oh my goodness. I I understand that there is a time and a place for that level of nuance, but I don't know that when it comes to how you're supposed to live your life, if that kind of stuff largely matters. Laws in the United States are generally constructed typically to help keep people safe. That's the general idea usually. So if you want to sit there and debate why a comma is here or there in regards to some murder charge and blah 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 blah, or a certain kind of theft, like yeah, maybe it matters. I guess it really matters if you're going to being the one that's on the stand or not. But I feel like sometimes people get so wrapped up in their ideas and, oh, I'm part of this club. Like there's this channel, Redeemed Zoomer, and he goes on and on about this and why this is that and how he's, I don't know what he is, Presbyterian or something. And ultimately you can kind of argue any stance that you want. And so for my wife and I think it largely boils down to two things. Maybe it's more than that. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't put a number on it. But the first thing is it a Christian thing? Because I'm not interested in being Buddhist or Hindu or Muslim or Jewish, whatever. One of the other versions. I don't think that there's nothing of value in each of those. No, of course not. I'm sure there's plenty of value in many of them. But that doesn't mean that's what I want to be. I want to be a Christian. Then the question then is, well, which of the three main branches are you going to be? Do you want to be Protestant? Do you want to be Catholic? Do you want to be Orthodox? And I don't think Protestantism is where it's at for me. My wife is, last I knew, and this stuff changes with us every 5-10 minutes, it seems like. But last I knew, and this has been the case for the last 4 months straight now, we're not interested in Protestantism. We tried a church and we were there for all of 90 seconds. It was so loud. It was blaring music. It was more like a rock concert with lights and flashing. It was like, we kind of knew that that's what it was going to be like, but it almost seemed like it was a sketch or something. I felt like I was walking onto the set of the Righteous Gemstones or something, like one of their side churches, a strip mall church or something like they had in that season 1. It was just so not what we were looking for. So we left. I mean, it was super fast how quick we left. It was less than 5 minutes for sure. A little bit more than a minute that we were there, but it was something like 60 to 120 seconds. I mean, it was in, looked around. Yeah, we got to go. It was pretty much that fast. We've gone to, I don't know, half dozen different Latin masses. Sorry, my nose is tickling me. And then here just this last Sunday, so yesterday on May the 4th, we went to an Eastern Orthodox church for the first time. Neither of us had ever been. And of all the services that we went to, that was the one where we felt the most welcomed, the most appreciated, the most warm environment. I'm not going to go into what the service was like. If somebody leaves a comment and wants to know, fine, I'll answer. I don't foresee that happening though. And so where we're kind of at right now is, there's a lot to like about Catholicism. I like the papacy in theory. In practice, I don't know about it. Because where I am at right now on the 5th, 2 days before the conclave is set to begin, I know that a decent part of my decision about whether or not I would like to become a Catholic, and my wife is kind of on the same page here with me, is whether or not this next pope leans conservative or liberal. And we have no interest in joining a church where, let's say, they elect a 60, 65-year-old pope who could live to be in his 80s and be pope for the next 20 plus years, in all likelihood. If they elect somebody that's pope in his 70s, okay, he could even live into 90s, but a minimum of 10 years, probably. If he's 75, 85, that's not unlikely. So let's say that whoever the pope is going to be pope for at least 10 years. If this is a very liberal pope, somebody that continues or even furthers what Francis was pushing for, then it opens the question of, oh, wait, if this pope is as liberal or even more liberal than Francis, are we going to... It puts the question in my mind of, are we going to start seeing female priests? Are we going to start seeing gay marriage? Okay, are gay priests going to be totally... Is that going to be fine? And I don't like that that's even a question. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like that. But I also equally don't like the tribalism that I'm looking for, the confirmation bias that I'm looking for in hoping that there's a conservative pope. I'm not a fan of that either. I do not like the part of myself that is going, I really hope that it's the conservative pope, because then maybe that new conservative pope would push for more Latin Mass and do away with some of this stuff that Francis brought in. Because I do think that ultimately what Francis was trying to do is welcome people that feel left out. He was trying to help the poor and the downcast, and that is a very Christian thing to do. So it's sort of like, I don't know how to weigh this. And it all kind of hinges on the Pope and his top-down authority, and I don't like that. I don't like it at all. That's why I say that I think the idea of a pope is a great idea in theory, because if you somehow knew this pope, this individual is the best possible person for that job, sort of like if you were to say this is the best possible person, we know this just in the core of our beings as a fact of reality, that this is the best person to serve as president. There's no other person on the planet that will help this country be guided in the correct decision and make the correct decisions and guide the country in along the correct path. If you could know that, and that person was always the correct person and always the person that became president, hey, that's a pretty sweet thing. But that's almost never the case. What president has been universally loved, disliked by no one? That's never happened. Which pope has been universally loved, disliked by no one? It's never happened. So if the cardinals elect somebody that's conservative or leans conservative, then a lot of liberals are going to be wondering, well, what does that leave for us? Liberally minded people. If people have children that are gay or queer or what have you, they're going to be, well, what does this mean for us now? Where do we go to church? Oh my goodness. Are we not going to be welcome anymore? That's not a wonderful position. I can hear some people like, well, you just need tough love. All right. That's great and all. And I hear that. And I do think there's a lot of truth to that. But at the same time, I can't just dismiss somebody that is concerned about something that is extremely important to them. I can't just go, you just got to get over it. Just deal with it. And I can say that, but it seems a little unkind. So I'm not a fan of that. But I am a fan of a lot of Catholicism. Largely, I like the institution of Catholicism. I like the way it looks. I like the way it sounds. I like the way it's just is this thing. It's cool. It's big. It's massive. It's like this unstoppable behemoth. That's kind of neat. There's all those pictures coming out when the cardinals were meeting around the time of Francis's funeral that were saying, oh, the Catholic aesthetic is unmatched. I was seeing it all over X online, all these pictures. And it is a really cool aesthetic. I can't dismiss that. I can't just go, well, that means nothing. Well, it means something. I don't know how much it means to me, but it means some amount of something to me. My last name is Italian. It's right here, Pera. It's not Pera. It's not Spanish. It's Pera. It's Italian. My first name is Italian. It's Delio. And so that kind of pulls me in that direction. I can't just say, it doesn't matter to me. It does. Tribalism, showing its funky head once again. But the Latin masses that we've gone to have been kind of cold in a way. But I don't want to hold that against the Latin Mass because it's kind of what you're signing up for. When you're going to that kind of a Mass, it's not there to greet and meet people. You can do that outside, and I've seen plenty of that. And I'm wondering, and my wife and I were wondering this just the other day, is if we went to the sung Mass where there is apparently a lot more families and then they have a meal afterwards, would we feel more of that welcoming environment? And so where I'm standing right now is thinking maybe we go to the sung mass on Sunday to spend some time with the other families and see what that's like and just be around them. What is that environment like? Just to kind of get an idea to see is it comparative, because when we were at the Eastern Orthodox Church there was plenty of people that came up to us and we had to go outside and we saw a lot of families and people were saying hi, it's welcome, and there's a lot of kids running around, which was nice to see. It's always nice to see when you see children having a good time. That kind of goes, oh, this can't be all bad. If kids are having a good time, they're happy. It seems like at least a positive environment on that level. So I guess where we're at right now is I feel like it's kind of a coin flip between Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy. And Protestantism is definitely not where it's at for either me or my wife. That I'm, yeah, that I'm pretty much certain on.